Hi, Cary.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So I'm Wendy and I'm on staff with Teen Esteem, and this is Cary. She might as well be on staff because she's done so much for us and is one of our star speakers in the classroom. And since we're all sheltering in place, we've been brainstorming a lot and Zooming a lot, talking about what can we do to kind of continue what we already do, speaking to students and parents. We actually are in the works of trying to get some Zoom into classrooms with students, but for now, it's Zoom time with whoever's on Facebook Live. So welcome. Awesome. And I have 3 kids, elementary, middle school, high school. Cary, how about you?
Yeah, I have 3 kids too. Elementary, and high school. So yeah, run the gamut of ages there.
Okay. So we're sheltered in place day, I think it's about day 12 or 13, because listen up, I have not been to the grocery store in 12 or 13 days and I'm going today. I'm so excited because we've been hardcore. What?
I said same.
Yeah. Oh, you're going today?
I'm right there. Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe I will not run into you there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I won't. I'll stay 6 feet away.
Yes. I'll have a mask and gloves and a secret outfit. So maybe a prom dress. Okay. So what we've come here to do now that we can like settle out our technology nerves is talk about mental health, because that is an issue that our kids are facing big time, more than ever in history. We're facing as adults, but then why don't you throw the coronavirus on top of that and see what that does for your anxiety and depression? So we wanted to talk about that, and Cary has personal experience with that and some tips and encouragement. So we'll just start with telling us how you got into the field of mental health. I know you're an advocate, you're very passionate about it, but why?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely not a doctor. Definitely not, don't have my, therapist license or any of that. Maybe someday, who knows? But right now it's just because it's something that I've been through. It's a road that I've walked down, and it's become something I'm passionate about, because when I walked down that road, I felt isolated and I felt like I was the only person in the world who struggles with that kind of stuff. And come to find out, that's how pretty much everybody who struggles with some sort of mental health challenge, that's how they feel. And that's kind of what anxiety and depression do to you. They make you feel like you are completely alone in this, so that you don't reach out for help, and so that we don't talk about it. And then that just makes us even more isolated. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. So anyways, because that's how I felt, I wanted to make sure that other people never feel that way when they're struggling. And so that kind of became my goal in life, I guess, if you will, is to make sure that people don't feel alone and know that they are not the only one who struggles with these kinds of things.
Cool. Why don't you talk about your personal journey then of how do you get to that place? Maybe a little bit where your struggle with depression and anxiety started.
Yeah. So I always struggled with anxiety.
And then we'll talk about now.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I've always struggled with anxiety, even as a kid. I remember when I was really young, my room was on a 2nd story, but I was terrified of somebody breaking in at night and like through my bedroom window, even though I was on the 2nd story. And so there would be nights I couldn't sleep. And I remember my dad giving me like a little, like, those mini wooden bats that you give kids when they're small. Like my dad gave me that and was like, that was my.
Oh yeah. I was thinking bat, coronavirus bat, like,
no.
Like that, like a bat. Okay. Cause I was like a wooden bat, like
but
a
it was
stuffed
like
bat,
big.
but okay, I mean, that makes sense. Okay.
It was like this big. It wasn't going to do any damage to anybody, but it just like, it put my mind at ease. And so I that's one of my earliest memories of really being anxious. But then, fast forward into high school and stuff, and I was always anxious about taking tests, and but nobody really talked about it. It wasn't something that we labeled, because that just wasn't what we did back then. And you just kind of worked through it. You just got through it. And Then I made some choices in high school that eventually led me to be a teen mom. And so I had my first daughter when I was 17, a junior in high school. And through that process, developed some postpartum depression along with anxiety during that time. And again, didn't really deal with it, didn't know what it was, didn't talk to anybody, didn't understand that that's what was going on. But through my life, I've had a lot of ups and downs walking through depression and anxiety. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that things really like finally came to the surface, and I just had a complete very dark depressive episode with panic attacks, with to the point that I drove myself to the ER multiple times because I thought I was dying, and times that I was curled up on my bathroom floor wanting to not go on anymore, wanting to not live anymore. So I've walked through that, and I've come out on the other side of that. And that's where I'm at today. But that doesn't mean that things still don't ebb and flow. It doesn't mean that I still don't sometimes have bad days.
So, and I think like you're saying, like that's heartbreaking to hear, but for some people, like good to hear, because it's encouraging. Like you said, I'm not alone. She's been through all this. She was a teen mom. Now she's got 3 kids, one who's about to graduate high school. There is hope even in the midst of the struggle. So can you tell us maybe some of the 5 most important things that you did that got you to where you are at today? So not, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things to keep it up, but like, what did you do to really help you get a hold of it?
Yeah. So, like 4 years ago when things were at their complete worst, as far as my mental health goes, the top priorities for me were finding the right therapist that I could talk to. I went through 2 or 3 before I found the one that I connected with, the one that was right for me in that moment, because there are so many wonderful, amazing counselors and therapists out there. But it's going to take time to find the one that you connect with on a personal level. Medication. I know there's a lot of, different opinions about medication, but it helped me, and it helped pull me out of that dark place.
Different.
Yeah. And some people take it for a short amount of time and then they can continue on their life. For me, it might be something I'm on forever. And I had to get to a place of being okay with that possibility. Being able to share my story with other people was huge. So not just with my therapist, but being able to use what I've been going through to help other people. So sharing with Teen Esteem, or even just sharing with people I get together sometimes with for coffee with people that I don't know that well, but because they know my story, they reach out.
Well, I think I've seen you post stuff on Facebook, and sometimes it's a lot, gets more vulnerable and vulnerable. And then people are like, thank you so much. I felt this way, but no one wants to share it, and to share it so boldly and bravely on Facebook. But then you have people that you don't know as much reaching out. And so that's pretty cool. So therapy, medication, sharing your story, and then anything else that would be the main things?
Would say exercise. Even if that's just like literally getting out for a walk and around the park, like doesn't have to be taking a Zumba class 5 or 6 days a week. Like it can just be something simple. And then the 5th thing I would say for me is giving myself days where I feel no guilt about stuff. So like a guilt-free day in bed. I can't do it all the time. I can't spend my life in bed sometimes. When you're depressed, that's sometimes what you want to do. But giving myself the permission to do that, or to indulge in a big bowl of ice cream sometimes. Really, it sounds silly, but it kind of helps me. So
okay. So Thank you for sharing that. And just heads up for the people watching on Facebook, we can't see any comments or likes because we're just glad to be here. It was hard enough. So if you're commenting and asking questions, we'll hopefully cover those later. We're going to do some more of these. We'll talk about more about anxiety in particular, panic attacks, what to do when you're experiencing one, what it looks like, maybe a little bit about a possessive compulsive disorder. We'll talk about screen time management, some other things. So feel free to put stuff in the comments that you want to see more of. But right now, it's Cary and I are seeing each other, and we thought we'd be able to see comments and be so interactive. But right now, if you could just see my setup, I got a laundry basket with notes taped here, a phone that people are texting, another computer, and I'm still getting my bearings, as is Cary. So those are 5 solid things that she shared.
My phone's propped up on a unicorn.
She's got a unicorn. So, okay. So let me ask you this then. What, with the coronavirus and everything, so you take someone that's dealing on a regular basis with their depression, anxiety, and then you throw shelter in place, out of school, disappointment, let down, cancel. Did that affect you at all? And I mean, of course it affected you. That's a really bad question. Man, I'll never be Barbara Walters, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what did that look like in terms of pressuring your anxiety and depression to come out to play?
Yeah. You know, I think for this stuff, I was prepared for it to trigger some stuff for me. But I, like, the last couple of days were really good in our house and I was feeling really good. And then today, like, somebody texted me and it was just like about something they saw in the news, and it just sent me into, like, I just full on cried. And I just wanted to, like, I wanted to have a temper tantrum of like a 2-year-old, like, where I throw myself on the floor and just like, I don't like this. I don't want to be in shelter in place. I want to get out. I want to do my normal things. I don't like this. And I just kind of had to give myself the permission and the space to do that. I think even with our kids, like, you know, like you said, I have a senior, and man, this, I mean, I know everybody is suffering like some sort of losses during this time, but like, my heart just breaks for these seniors.
I talked to another mom saying the same thing today.
Yeah. And they may not be getting, I mean, I hate to, I hate to speculate, but like, they may not get prom, they may not get all these things. And like, there's a part of me that wants to say like, yes, suck it up, because we're all dealing with stuff right now.
There's worse things.
Disappointments.
That's not,
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, be thankful in your country, or be thankful you're not, and which is all true, but like, that's not the stuff they want to hear right now. That's not the stuff even I want to hear all the time right now. So allowing your kids to be able to feel those disappointments, to be mad and be angry, like, obviously you don't want them throwing stuff at the walls, but like allowing them to have those feelings and processing those with them, I think is really healthy and really important for our kids to see. A couple of days ago, my senior, you know, she got the news that school was out till May 1st now. And she's been hearing from some colleges, like some weird things about that too. And so she was just devastated. And part of me wanted to just, again, be like, suck it up. But then I just thought about it for a second. And instead I just went in and sat with her, and I didn't say anything. I didn't have any words of wisdom. But I just sat with her and I hugged her and let her cry, and I cried. And, you know, we made brownies. We made peanut butter honey brownies, and
those sound good.
That's all.
And sometimes that's okay, as long as that's not your go-to that you're always going to for comfort. Every once in a while, you know, sometimes a power nap and a brownie is what you need. And I think it's important what you're saying. And you've said to me before about depression, even, is allowing those feelings to come up, and anxiety, and like recognizing them instead of trying to pretend they're not there. And I don't personally have experience with long-term depression, anxiety, but I know about grief. I've been through grief, and it's real similar in the sense that sometimes you just need to sit in that it's bad, and don't give me things to encourage me right now. I need to sit in this, but there gets to a point where we got to move on, and we need to, okay, let's get through the day. So that kind of goes back to just in daily life, for kids and adults, things to help either keep depression at bay or help pull you out would be like you said, getting outside, exercising, talking to someone, staying connected. I mean, on our simple schedule that I made for our family, one of my requirements for the kids each day is to FaceTime a friend. And that sounds really silly, like you have to make your kids FaceTime a friend. Don't they want to? Well, every kid's different, and some of them might be more isolating and they'd rather just go play video games or something. So they have to connect like that. And then speaking of video games, what would you say about screen management? Because that's tricky too, in general, screen management. But when you're dealing with someone that's depressed and maybe like a depressed teenager, I don't want to stereotype the guys because all my kids are playing this Dragonville game. I'll talk about that later because it's very important. But you know, how important is it to say, no, you can't sleep all day. You can't just be playing video games all day. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I said that one of the things that I really needed was to give myself permission to like sometimes have those days, but that's the thing. Those are just one-off days. Don't let your teen or yourself be in bed all day. Some people need to get dressed and take a shower in the morning to make themselves feel better. Some people are okay staying in their PJs. You got to figure out kind of what's right for you.
Some people like to wear robes over their clothes. It's like combo.
Yes.
It's both.
Yeah.
But I do need to shower
as far as
sometimes.
our teens go, especially, I think that our teens still need some structure and need to be getting out of bed. And,
even though they're like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, even though they'll hate you. Like, and mine hates me right now for not letting her see her friends because a lot of people are still, you know, letting them see their friends, and I'm not. And so, you know, they're going to hate you for whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't, you know? But yeah.
So what would you tell your teenage self? So if there's any teenagers that are going to watch this and they're in the midst of this battle, what would you say to them?
So I would tell them, and I would tell myself, that this does get better. Even if we weren't in coronavirus land right now, but you were just suffering from anxiety or depression or OCD or whatever it is, like, as a teenager, that stuff is so hard to wrap your brain around. But as you get older, you do start to see that it's unfortunately, it's common. You're not alone. So many people struggle with these kinds of things. There's help. Like, there's ways to not just cope with these things, but to really like thrive in these things. And a lot of these ways that you're right now like feeling that they're holding you back in life, they may be the exact thing that actually pushes you forward in life someday. And so it does get better though. Like, this is not the end. This is not the place that you're going to stay forever.
And even for someone that's like, look, Cary, I'm already taking medication. I'm trying to cope. I have a counselor, and the dark cloud is still there. What do you say to that person that maybe is watching from home? Maybe it's the mom that's been in bed all day, or the dad that's been in bed all day or glued to his computer, or the teenager that the parent is like, get in here, you're going to watch this. But they've just been zoning out and not dealing and feeling like, I've tried and I'm so discouraged. Same, right? Like, it just gets better, and sometimes longer seasons than others.
Everybody's different. And I had
say that's like a big.
Sorry, what?
Go ahead. Sorry, it's hard with the delay a little bit, but you were saying everybody's different.
Yeah, so everybody's different. And when I was kind of just coming out of my very dark places, I met this girl or woman, and she came to me and she was like, I'm struggling, I'm suffering. I've never had it be this bad before. And it's been 2 months, Cary. Like, it should be over by now. And I looked at her and I said, it's been 2 years for me, and I'm just starting to come out of this. And fast forward, it took her about 2 years to really kind of get a hold of what was going on and find the right medication and and so I don't say that to like make everybody feel like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a 2 years or more, you know,
but it's
I don't know.
it's
Nobody
not an
knows.
overnight fix.
But it's not an overnight fix, even on medication. Like
Yeah.
medication isn't something that you just take and it goes away. It's not a miracle thing. So,
But the cool thing is
so
looking
just
at
be
you.
patient.
Yeah.
Hard.
But looking at you a little farther along, who's went through that long term figuring it out, and then the coronavirus comes and you feel like your instinct is, I just want to go crawl into bed. And then you
Yeah.
didn't, and you are fighting through and
Yeah.
working through, and now you're helping so many other people. So there's so much hope out there for anyone who's struggling. I think a huge thing right now, if you're watching this and you are that person, you need to talk to somebody. And starting with maybe the person right next to you, your parent, even if you don't even know how to explain it, to just say, I think I'm off. Like, I think, of course, teenagers are going to, and all of us are going to struggle right now and have ups and downs. And I, might want to have a day in bed where I do nothing and be sad for a day. And that doesn't mean I'm clinically depressed. It's when it lasts for 2 weeks or longer, when your sleep patterns are off, like you're sleeping too much or too little, or you're eating too much or too little, or you don't want to do any of the things that you used to like to do. Those are signs of more clinical depression that you are going to need some extra help to get out of. So I think a big encouragement that I'm hearing from you, and we tell our students when we talk to them, is to reach out and talk to someone. Hopefully, if it's a teenager or a kid, a parent is the first person that you go to. But if not, there's a lot of other resources. We're going to post them on our Facebook page and put some in the comments. But there's the crisis text line and call line at 741-741. You can text that at any time. I think you text the word home to 741-741 24/7, any kind of crisis. You don't have to be completely suicidal and in a dark pit, but if you're just dealing with deep emotional pain and you don't know where to go, they'll connect you with the right people. So that's 741-741. You text that. The phone number is 800-273-TALK. And then one of the avenues you might get sent to if you call there is actually NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health. So NAMI.org. One of our awesome speakers, Graham, is very involved with NAMI, and hopefully at some point we'll get him on one of these Facebook Lives as well to talk more about mental health. But it's a huge thing to reach out and make that call, make that text for yourself, or maybe it's for your kid. Maybe you're looking at your kid and feeling hopeless, like I can't get them off the screen or they'll yell at me, or you just feel stuck. You can call those crisis lines too and say, I'm a mom and I just need some direction. So it's a tough time right now, maybe differentiating, like, is this normal coronavirus in the dumps, or is it more than that? So yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I think I would just say to the moms that are watching, like, because part of my anxiety that I've been feeling a little bit since the whole shelter in place and now the whole like distance learning and all that stuff, I would just say, like, give yourself a break, as far as like trying to teach your kids, and now you're trying to homeschool, and maybe you're also trying to work a full-time job at the same, like, just, your kids are going to be okay. Your kids are going to be fine. Like, whether or not you guys spend an hour on the distance learning or 5 hours, like, or none at all, like, just right now, give yourself a break, and don't put too much pressure on yourself for that. So
yeah, I agree, because as we think about this time, our kids are going to look back at this historic time and they're going to remember some things, but what are they going to remember? I mean, I know my kids, a little bit of me saying, okay, this isn't vacation, and trying to bring some structure in. I mean, the first week was really loose. So then when the next week we tried to bring in any structure, it was like, you're ruining my life. But now they're adjusting. My kids' school wake up time 9:30. I feel pretty generous with that. Like, that's 9:30, and then you eat, and then at 10 you start a little bit of school, and you have to exercise and all these kind of things. But the bottom line is, what I hope they remember is they're going to remember that we watched Goonies last night, and they're going to remember that we did a Disneyland puzzle, and they're going to remember that we played 4,000 rounds of double solitaire, triple solitaire, 800 games of ping pong with their dad. Like, that they're going to look back and the stress part will fade away a little bit more, and they'll think, holy cow, that was a really good time. I mean, I know my youngest daughter, her favorite thing is that she gets to spend all this time with her 13-year-old sister, who usually doesn't give her the time of day. She's just like in heaven. So seeing all those positive things that come out of it have been really awesome. And I think it's comedy sometimes, at least for me, you know, trying to be that mom, you know, where you bring the structure. In fact, we'll close on this kind of funny note. I have a Corona mom story. So after a whole week, I think it was like a whole week of Wild Wild West mostly, you know, they had to read and they had to exercise and have, you know, a little creative time or something, but and chores. So I said, okay, I want you guys to write me a 1-page paper on your feelings around the coronavirus and just how you're feeling and how you're doing, which is fun, awesome, because I know, like, I've seen so many things, and we've even posted on Teen Esteem, like, have your kids journal. It's going to be so important for them to look back at. And I just have to giggle because, like, what kids want to journal, you know? So they're like, oh my gosh, you know, one kid's like, I'm just going to write stupid, stupid, stupid and double space it in huge font. They're all whispering about what they're going to do. Well, they actually did it. So I'm just trying to pick which kids, and I feel like I can read these because I'm not going to tell you who wrote what, but let me just sift through my essays here.
That would be a fun
font.
game. If we could guess.
Double spacing. Okay, let's see. I'm going to just go with this one right here. The coronavirus is wasteful, boring, and useless. I strongly think it is terrible. I mean, we get home-cooked meals and family time, but I don't get to see my friends, and my fort keeps falling apart. Plus, Sibby, the puppy, is attacking me 24/7, which she loves. By attacking, meaning like wanting to play all the time. While Shiner's just laying there watching, I don't get my iPad until 10 o'clock. So I'm kind of mad. By the way, did you know sharks have ears? I always thought they didn't, but I found out they do. If my fort falls apart another time, they will hear me from the ocean. Can you make pancakes for breakfast? I'm kind of hungry, but I have to do my quiet time. In conclusion, I dislike the virus and think someone should just ban it from the U.S. Banned, B-A-N-D, from the U.S. or put it in the sewer. So with that, my friends, try and find the humor in all of it, even in the midst of dealing with the anxiety, because in the long run, it's going to be okay.
Yep.
So,
yes, it will.
All right. We don't even really know how to end this even. So
thank you, Wendy. That was fun.
Yes, we're going to do this again and again. We'll get to hopefully all 4,000 of your comments. There's probably none. And answer things at a later time. Oh, I see an end meeting button. So say bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.